Okay, so we have just made a quick plan about how we are going to compare Remains and War Photographer with a focus on personal experiences. So I'm going to write a response now in real time for you. And just bear in mind that, everything we write can always be improved. There's always going to be some words that I can go back and swap out to make more academic. There's definitely going to be some things I will miss out possibly in terms of the comparison. But I'm just going to show you how I would respond to this. So in my introduction, I'm going to make sure I'm showing the examiner that I'm responding to the question by comparing the poems immediately. So I'm going to start with, when one considers the personal experiences, so I'm showing that I'm answering the question straight away, of the persona in the poem Remains, one immediately makes comparisons with the persona in War Photographer. So straight away I'm making a comparison there, and I'm showing the examiner I'm answering the question. So I'm going to start my responses with anchoring into AO3 in the context. So why, what has influenced these writers to write these poems? What's their intent, and how does that link to personal experience? So in my plan I already mentioned why Armitage has written the poem. So I'm going to make this clear now for my nice AO3 anchorage. So in Armitage's poem, the traumatic experience of violence in war is shown through the soldier. So we can see this is a very traumatic experience for him, and it's shown through the soldier, and I'm going to say what Armitage has done and why he's written this poem now. So Armitage interviewed many veterans and other servicemen from modern wars such as Iraq, to highlight and what can I say here? He really wants to highlight the personal suffering and how war has affected them. And I'm just going to go back and check this because this seems like a really long sentence in my head. So in Armitage's poem, the traumatic experience of violence and war is shown through the soldier. Armitage interviewed many veterans and other servicemen from modern wars, such as Iraq, to highlight their personal suffering and how war has affected them. Okay. Similarly, so I'm making a comparison here to Duffy. Similarly, Duffy's poem War Photographer portrays the trauma of a war journalist so displays the trauma of a war journalist and the emotional damage he has suffered through his personal experience with conflict. Okay, so just like I did with the first one, I'm just making my point and then I'm going to try to link it to AO3. So I'm going to mention Duffy's friendship now. So Duffy had a great friendship with a war photographer, and perhaps wanted to show the difficulties of those who have bore witness to conflict. So I've said bore witness there, you know, instead of just saying who viewed it, who've experienced it, who've seen it. So I'm trying to really vary synonyms here, making sure that I don't just seem like I'm repeating myself. So there's my introduction there. So I've made my initial points about personal experiences and I've linked it to AO3. So I've got 2 points and 2 AO3 points, which I'm going to develop as I move through. So I'm going to start with the remains, and I'm making a start so I could say firstly or initially. In remains, the soldier minimises, and this is what I put in my plan, the experience he has had in conflict. Okay. Armitage carefully, so I'm showing that the writer has crafted this, uses colloquialisms. So we mentioned that in my plan. Colloquialisms like "we get sent," really informal. And on another occasion, I keep spelling occasion wrong. And on another occasion, to suggest the event is less serious than it seems to the soldier. Additionally, so I'm now going to see if I can add something else to my analysis, because you need to make sure that you're just developing your AO2. So additionally, the opening line on another occasion conveys a sense of a story or fairy tale. This could imply the soldier wishes the experience was just a story. The soldier finds it difficult expressing his true emotions and feelings about the event. Armitage is possibly highlighting how difficult some men find communicating their feelings or experiences. Okay, I'm going to turn over now because I need to run out of room. So I've got my AU3, the intent, context, what do you think is happening here, what is he reflecting in the wider world, and possibly how, you know, men do find it hard to communicate their feelings and experiences sometimes. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to my comparison. I'm going to look at Duffy. So in contrast, Duffy presents the opening of her poem as somber and serious. The persona is described as setting the images out in rows, and references a mass. To him, or to the persona, this process of developing the film seems important and spiritual. Maybe I'll say is important and spiritual. Okay. It is almost as if he is having to prepare himself for reliving the experience he has already endured. Okay. And perhaps here we can think about what, you know, why is Duffy showing this? And maybe she's trying to highlight the need for maybe, you know, journalists and photographers to have this emotional distance in order to get, you know, their photographs. Maybe Duffy is trying to highlight how many journalists must distance themselves from their subjects in order to I would say obtain their images or stories. Okay. So I'm going to move on now to my plan and how they have expressed themselves quite differently. So we've got the repetition to show the effect has been, you know, very difficult for the soldier to escape. Like he, you know, it's really impacted his life, and maybe how the photographs make the war photographer tremble, like the sheer memory of the experience is having a physical effect on him. So I'm going to say, and I'm going to come back to my question here, so my AO1. So the personal experience of shooting the looter is clearly traumatic for the soldier in remains. Possibly not. To establish that the persona cannot escape from the guilt at taking part in the man's death. Additionally, Armitage cleverly uses the verbs blink and burst to show the memory of the experience. Interrupts and impacts terribly on the persona's life. Furthermore, so I've just realised I need to make sure I reference some structure here, so this will really help in terms of enjambment. So furthermore, the poet's skillful use of enjambment, so that's when the lines move into each other, also develop the idea that the persona has little over his memories and thoughts. Armitage is, I'm remembering my AO3, so I've done my analysis. Armitage is clearly displaying the terrible PTSD that many servicemen and women must live with after serving their country. Okay, right, so now I'm going to think about moving on to Duffy. So how has the experience affected him? And this is quite similar, isn't it? Because the war photographer trembles, it's a physical response. So I'm going to start this with a comparison. Likewise, in war photographer, Duffy describes the hands of the photographer as trembling when he is developing the film. Okay. The verb conveys that the memory of his experience is so troubling that he has a physical reaction, one that he cannot control, whilst, let me read this again. So the verb conveys that the moment of his experience is so troubling that he has a physical reaction, one that he cannot control, when reliving, when experiencing the events once more via his work. Okay, lovely. So I'm going to move on now, and I'm going to do the agonies, the similarity, the use of agonies, and then, because it's now coming up to, I've probably got 10 minutes, I reckon I could do 2 more points in my conclusion. So I'm going to move on now to the metaphor of agonies. So I'm going to say both poets use a metaphor of agonies to describe the experiences of their personas. Armitage uses the image of agony to describe what the soldier has seen. This suggests it is the epitome of pain and suffering, an image so horrific the persona struggles to describe it. In comparison, so another linking connective, Duffy describes the images as 100 in black. 100 agonies, missed that there, that's the whole point. In black and white. Okay. This tells the reader the images are sad, somber, sad and somber. I'm going to put that in there. Furthermore, the use of the adjectives black and white enhance how no life or colour is shown. No life or colour has been captured in this experience. Both personas struggle to describe what they have seen. Okay, so if we're thinking, I've got about 6 minutes now, so I could probably think about maybe mentioning how Armitage, he shows that the soldier here, the effects are long lasting, tries to flush him out, and he can't get rid of them. And then maybe I could fit in the war photographer frustration, and then my little conclusion. So I could say here, finally, Armitage, lasting effects of the soldier's experience. The persona turns to alcohol and drugs to try to prevent his memory from occurring. Armitage uses the verb flush to suggest the soldier sees the memory as waste and is desperate to escape it. The allusion to Lady Macbeth further implies the persona will forever be haunted by the guilt of what he. Okay. And I could say, in contrast, Duffy shows how the photographer is frustrated by their personal experience. Frustrated by how the public respond to their personal experience. That would make more sense. The public blink tears away and are more concerned with pre-lunch despite the horrific experiences the journalist endures, the public do not respond accordingly to his reporting. Perhaps Duffy is trying, leave this out, is trying to highlight how the West, or how Western societies do not consider conflicts or tragedies around the world as deeply as they should. Okay. So I've got about 2 minutes to do my little conclusion. So I'm just going to turn over and do that. So Armitage and Duffy, I'm just going to sum up what I've said here. Present personal experience, or the personal experiences of their personas to be traumatic and damaging. Is Armitage questioning the support of those who return from war? Likewise, Duffy shows that despite the heroic actions of journalists, their work is not appreciated by the public. Okay, so 3105. So we've written in real time there our response. I've got some nice AO1, AO2, AO3, and like I said, you know, I'm going to go back over this now and read it through, and I could probably try and improve it in lots of cases, especially the end where I've rushed a little bit. The public, you know, what I've said here, conflict strategies award deeper they should. So the public blink tears away and are more concerned with feeling Spears despite the horrific experiences the journalist endures. The public do not respond accordingly to his reporting. I've said the public quite a lot here, so I might cross that out and just write society. Perhaps Duffy's trying to highlight how Western societies, maybe I can put cultures here because I've already said societies there, do not consider conflicts or tragedies around the world as deeply as they should. Armitage and Duffy present the personal experiences of their personas to be traumatic and damaging. Is Armitage questioning the support of those who return from war? Armitage is clearly, I'm not going to put a question in, is clearly questioning the support of those who return from service. Likewise, Duffy shows that despite the heroic actions of journalists, their work is not appreciated by the public.